This program is brought to you by realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. With more properties for sale than anywhere else, we make it easier.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at what's happening in the property market this weekend. In Sydney, there'll be 596 auctions with another 183 auctions around New South Wales. Melbourne tops the list with 610 auctions. There's another 38 around Victoria. In Queensland, Brisbane will have 148 auctions and there'll be another 139 auctions around the state. In Adelaide, there'll be 157 auctions, and lastly, in Canberra, there'll be 76. The most viewed property going to auction this week is 46 Hull Road in Beecroft, New South Wales. It has 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms and a 3-car garage on a sizable 1,435 square metres of land. It's an entertainer's haven with a state-of-the-art kitchen, solar heated pool and landscaped resort-style backyard. In second place, we have 24A Hunter Street in Hawthorn, Victoria. It comes with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and 2 car spaces. It's unexpectedly spacious, bathed in natural light and within walking distance of shops and cafes. It has a price guide of between $1.2 and $1.3 million. Third place is 11 Banksia Drive in the Leafy Hills suburb of Bridgewater in South Australia. It has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and 4 car spaces, and it sits on 920 square metres. The home has a traditional Cape Cod design and is priced at $575,000. In fourth place is 6 Wingan Avenue in Camberwell in Victoria. The property has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and 2 car spaces and sits on 600 square metres. It also has a pool in the backyard and has a price guide of $2.3 to $2.5 million. And in fifth place, it's 66 Lutulia Avenue in Borkham Hills in New South Wales. It has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and a 2-car garage on 750 square metres. It also has a pool in the backyard, but it needs a bit of work and it's priced at $1.2 million. The top listing for this week is perfect for those that want to live by the water. 1 Broadwater Terrace in Redland Bay, Queensland, sits on the edge of Moreton Bay and has expansive views of the entire bay. It has 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, garage space for 5 cars and sits on 759 square metres. The property has a long list of features which include a premium kitchen, oversized master bedroom and a large office with a secret passageway to the below-ground wine cellar. You can see it on the screen here. The wine cellar can fit over 1,000 bottles, is temperature controlled and protected by a security system. In the yard, there's also a saltwater pool, 6-person sauna and outdoor shower. There's also a golf course across the street and the garage can store 2 golf buggies. Well, let's bring in our next guest, Angus Moore, economist at REA Group. Angus, thanks for your time today. Look, Melbourne back on the top of the property market for auctions again this weekend. Historically, is this a busy weekend for the middle of winter?
Thanks so much for having me, Ed. Great to be here. Look, we are seeing quite a busy weekend for winter this weekend coming up. Winter is typically quieter and, we are certainly seeing volumes down compared to earlier in the year or compared to spring last year, which is typically the busiest time of year. But for a winter weekend, this does look set to be quite busy. That's really been the theme this year. We had a very busy start to the year and we're kind of seeing that momentum continue through into winter. But if we're looking more broadly, conditions are starting to slow a bit. Measures of buyer demand have cooled off from where they were earlier in the year. It's taking a bit longer to sell a house than it was earlier in the year, and we're starting to see prices decline. So the PropTrack Home Price Index for June showed that prices nationally were down 0.25%. We saw price declines in Sydney, Melbourne, and notably we saw price declines in Brisbane. That's the first time since the pandemic that we have. So we are seeing conditions slow, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but a big one is obviously the fact that the RBA is raising interest rates and raising them as quickly as they are.
And auction clearance rates, that's fallen below 50% last week across the country. And it looks like lots of homes are now either selling before auction or for private treaty. So is this method of sale now becoming more popular?
Look, we've certainly seen clearance rates come off the boil, consistent with that sort of slowing in conditions that we've seen. Things are taking longer to sell, more things are getting passed in auction, and that will start to make taking pre-auction offers more attractive and private treaty a little more attractive as well.
And what happens when a property passes in at auction? Does it usually get relisted pretty quickly back onto the market?
So, it certainly depends on what's happening in the market in terms of what happens if it passes in an auction, and whether there can often be kind of bidding after the auction in a way, whether the agent will undertake a kind of closed auction in a way where they'll talk to some of the interested parties and see if they can get an offer out. But with conditions cooling off, we might expect to see things that get passed in continue to stay listed and take a bit longer to sell.
Well, RBA lifted rates this week, up 0.5% and up 1.25% since May. So huge increase for the cash rate. Is this a bit of a shock here for the property market?
Yeah, certainly a widely expected decision coming into the meeting. I think the consensus was probably for 50 basis points, and the governor had kind of telegraphed that. But as you say, if we step back 6 months ago, this is a radical change from what the RBA was saying, and a radical change from what I was expecting. And if we put it in historical context, quite a brisk pace of interest rate rises. It's pretty rare that the RBA raises rates by 50 basis points in one meeting, let alone in two back to back. You have to go back to early 2000 to find the last time they raised by 50 basis points in one meeting. You have to go back to 1994 to find something comparable to two back to back. So they raised by 1% in 1994, though I think it's fair to say 3 decades ago, the way that monetary policy was run and the monetary policy framework was pretty different to what it is today. So that brisk pace is certainly having an impact on the property market. Raising mortgage rates obviously impacts how much people can borrow. That affects prices. We're already seeing it. Prices are down nationally and have been for a couple months. And we'll continue to see that flow through over the rest of this year and potentially into next year, particularly if the RBA continues to raise rates at a pretty brisk pace.
Well, Angus Moore, economist at REA Group, thank you for coming on the program today.
Absolute pleasure, Ed. Thanks for having me.